Hi Scorpio, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your September 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12 card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign, Scorpio is the first house, all the way through to Libra representing the 12th. When we get through that main spread, we'll actually pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Brady Tarot, and for the oracle deck, we have the Wisdom Oracle. And we're actually going to start the reading off our own those astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea what your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have the Sun. At the time I'm recording this, the Sun's just wrapping up the transit through Leo, which is your 10th house of career and social status, and it'll be moving into Virgo, which is your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. Speaking of Leo, we also see that here. So yeah, could just be saying you might have some focus on that area of life. So again, beside the fact that the Sun's wrapping up its transit through there, we recently had a new moon eclipse in Leo as well. We also have Jupiter in Leo. Toward the very end of September, Mars is going to move into Leo. We have technically Mercury still in Leo for a couple more days at the time of recording this. So yeah, definitely makes sense in that regard to see Leo come up. And as if that wasn't enough, once again, we see the Leo energy, right? So I don't know if this is Jupiter taking a wheel because it is a pretty strong energy, but obviously there's some importance when it comes to your career and social status this month. So we'll keep that all in mind as we go through the main spread. All right, so for the first house of personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the Hierophant. So this is actually the major arcana card for Taurus, which is your opposite sign. So what I could be getting from this is that maybe this is saying that you'll be relying a little bit more on traditional beliefs this month, right? Leaning more on traditional structured types of forms of faith, or even just traditional ways of being in general, right? More doing things more by the book, sticking with the tried and true versus going with things a little bit more experimental. And for some of you, this could be maybe partially due to the fact that we've had Chiron in Taurus for a bit. Now, it will technically be going back into Aries on the 17th of September because it's retrograde at this time. But yeah, could just be saying that maybe that might have had you revisiting that area of life. All right, so for your second house of possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the 10 of Feathers, which is 10 of Wands in a lot of decks, and it's referred to as burden in this deck. So yeah, so seeing this here, I feel like this is saying primarily you could just feel like you're a little bit taxed out when it comes to that area of life. Now, there could be multiple reasons for that, right? Maybe it's just one of those things where your work life could be causing a lot of stress for you, right? Maybe there's a lot of stuff on your plate when it comes to work. For others of you, maybe this is saying that, you're not only supporting yourselves with your income, but maybe there are other people you're supporting as well, right? So maybe you have children that you're supporting, or a spouse who's currently not working, so you're the only one who's bringing in money. Maybe there's older relatives, right? Whatever the case may be, could just be saying that it just has you a little bit taxed out, feeling like, as soon as the money comes in, it goes right back out, right? So there could be a lot of stress around that at this time for you guys. All right, so for your third house of communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the 9 of Feathers, so 9 of Wands here, conflict. So more Sagittarius energy here, and naturally this could be related to what we were just saying with the second house, right? Where it could just be one of those things when you tend to be really stressed in one area of life, it could bleed into others, right? So for some of you, this could be directly related to the topics we were talking about, but for others of you, it might not be that, right? So you might even end up being short with someone who's not directly related to the issue, but because you're so taxed out, you might lash out unintentionally at others. So it could be something like that, just something to watch out for there. But yeah, for the majority of you, given that these are both Sagittarius energies, I feel like it would be more likely to be directly related to the stress you're feeling when it comes to finances this month. All right, so for your fourth house of home, roots, and family, we have the Daughter of Roots. So yeah, so this is actually the equivalent of the Page of Pentacles in most decks. And Now, this is actually a good thing to see here as far as to me. It says that when you're in your home environment, you might actually be feeling a little bit more relaxed and grounded, assuming you could step away from the fray and get some quiet, right? For others, you just could just be saying that maybe you've recently moved too, right? So it could just be one of those things as well where this could have been something that you planned for on the one hand, right? But now that, all of the bills are coming due and you're just like doing all the actual moving and everything, it could just be one of those things that has you feeling a little bit drained at this time. But I feel like there is a part of you that deep down feels like, okay, it is for the best in the long run, even if it feels stressful right now. For your fifth house of romance, creativity, and children, we have the Three of Roots. So this is the Three of Pentacles in most decks, and it's referred to as work here. It's a Capricorn energy. So the good thing here is I feel like this is saying if you could tap into your creativity, you'll actually find some ways to uh, figure out something that could actually stand the test of time. That's something that you have an emotional connection to that you're proud of, but also that will, pay off in tangible ways as well. Now, sometimes this can point to more of a collaborative energy too, right? So we see the three trees in this case. So it could just be one of those things where you might have to combine resources with someone in some way, or at the very least, bounce some ideas off of people to really gain traction with this. But I feel like this is saying that you could see some growth over the long run with this creative idea of yours. And if we think about the fact that there is that the time of recording this, we haven't had that full moon eclipse in Pisces yet, which is your fifth house. So maybe look out for that timeline in particular for maybe when you might start to get those ideas on how to execute it. For your sixth house of health, work, and daily routines, we have truth. So this is the ace of arrows, or the ace of, oh yeah, it's the arrows in this deck as well. I was going to say the ace of swords in a lot of decks, but seeing this here could just be saying that you might actually get some good insight as to how to best deal with this area of life too. So again, like we said, right, if you're stressed around finances and let's say your work is demanding a lot of you at this time, I feel like this is saying you could get some solid insights on how to best tackle that. Now, for some of you, that could be as soon as the eclipse we were talking about in Pisces. I do have to say, for some of you, unfortunately, it might take a little bit longer because this also makes me think of the fact that we'll have that full moon in Aries, which is your sixth house, toward the end of September. So some of you might take a little bit longer for that insight to come through for you. But really, I could even see this as if we think about currently in Aries, we already have Neptune retrograde in there. We have Saturn retrograde in there. Like I mentioned, Chiron's going to retrograde into there on the 17th or so. So really throughout the month, you could have those insights come to you, but it could just be one of those things where maybe for some of you it'll click a little bit sooner than others. All right, so for your seventh house of partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Seven of Roots, referred to as growth in this deck. So this is a Taurus energy here, so it is actually your natural seventh house to see this energy here, but yeah, it could just be saying it's one of those things where maybe there's actually stronger roots to the situation that you're in than what you might feel currently, right? So, meaning you could just be going through, let's say, if you're in a romantic partnership, you might be feeling like you're going through a bit of a rough stretch, right? Where you're starting to lose faith that you could feel that continued growth within the connection. Could just be one of those things where maybe the connection is moving along, but maybe not the pace that you wanted, right? Whatever the case may be. But I feel like this is saying that the roots are stronger there than it might appear, and you will continue to see that growth that just could be feeling a little bit strained at this time. And again, like we said, given that you guys had Chiron in there retrograde recently, maybe it'll start to feel a little less stressful when it moves back into Aries on the 17th. All right, so for your eighth house of death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Nine of Roots, accomplishment. So yeah, so this is a Virgo energy here. So for some of you, this could just be saying that in the early parts of September, you might be feeling this a little bit more strongly. But regardless, usually this points to being able to see tangible proof of your work from the past. So let's say if you did make some kind of investments, right? So like we said, if you moved your house, moved to a different house recently or whatever, or made some investments in the past, right, that might have taxed you out a little bit, I feel like this is saying you might start to see some tangible proof of that paying off in the present. So definitely some positive momentum with that. It's a bit more of an independent energy. So for some of you, this might be something that you took on alone versus like, a big collaborative effort. But nonetheless, you could start to see some payoff from that. So for your ninth house of philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have withdrawal. So this is the four of arrows, four of swords, and a lot of decks. This is a Libra energy. So it's interesting to see Libra energy, which is your 12th house, in your ninth house. Very different energies on the one hand, but what this could be pointing to really is that for some of you, maybe you've been reconsidering your beliefs to an extent, right? So like I said, with the Hierophant showing up right here in your first house, maybe you've been revisiting beliefs, right? Looking more traditional forms of belief again, maybe reconsidering what works for you, what doesn't, right? So there could be, on the one hand, there could be some healing around that, but let's just say hypothetically, right? You might have been really strong on a certain belief, and that could have partially been due to when we had Jupiter moving through Cancer, which is your natural ninth house, right? So you could have been really strong and firm on this one belief, and as that transit progressed, maybe there was something that challenged it, right? And now you're like reconsidering, like, wow, this was something that I felt so strongly, and then now I'm reconsidering because the reality didn't seem to align with that, right? So it could just be one of those things where you're just hanging back a little bit, maybe not ditching anything specifically, but at the very least revisiting what fits, what doesn't. All right, so your 10th house was buzzing all over the place with the dice. So the good thing with that, though, I will say, is that we have temperance. So this is Sagittarius energy again, but it's the major arcana energy for it. So to me, this does one of the main things that temperance points to is balance, right? So while this seems very real, right, what we were talking about earlier with the Sagittarius energies, I feel like this is also saying that this could be an indicator that it's more of a temporary thing that you just need to ride out, because this is going to point to, in this regard, like, okay, you give what you get, right? So it's one of those things where if you are overtaxing yourselves, right, it could just be saying, well, if you pull back from that a little bit, things will align in that regard, right? Or if it's just one of those things where you're finding, okay, well, maybe the problem is it's just not an ideal fit for you, right? So, this is going to sound like a goofy example, but if someone's like 4'8", they're probably not going to do too great in the NBA, right? Even if they're a great basketball player overall, like, yeah, you work as hard as you can. It's probably just up against insurmountable odds in a case like that, right? Uh, Now, Muggsy Bogues would disagree if you guys go way back with basketball, but yeah, just one of those things where it's like, okay, the effort might be there, right? But it's like, well, if you just keep feeling exhausted and feeling like you're not getting anywhere, then maybe it's just a fit that needs to be looked at again. Um, but again, also, like I said, this could also just be a point of, if you do feel like where you are is the right place to be, it could just be pointing to more of it being a temporary thing where you're just feeling a little bit taxed out in the short term, but in the long run, things will pay off. All right, so for your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have success. So this is the two of feathers, two of wands in most decks. So yeah, so this could just be saying that for some of you might be mixing with new groups, right? Maybe some newer friendships. And if that's the case, I feel like this is saying that you're actually gaining some traction with those. And this could be another indicator that at least for some of you might have moved recently to a new area. So, maybe it's just a matter of, like I said, hey, there could be a lot of expenses that comes with that, right? So maybe as you're finally clearing all that out and starting to get more settled, making new friends in your new environment, you might start to feel a little bit more strongly about where you're at. But yeah, it could just be one of those things where there's this energy of a fresh start for you guys in some ways. All right, and for your 12th house of spirituality, blind spots, and mental health, we have the High Priestess. So this is actually a strong energy to see in the 12th house, because to me it says that your intuition will be strong, usually not going to lead you astray as well, right? So another strong thing with that too. And I mean, it does make me think of the fact that for a good chunk of September, we'll have Mercury in your 12th house. So that could be sharpening your insights there. And then also, like I mentioned, Venus will be there as well. So on the 10th, it'll move into your sign. I feel like that would be more of like the dreamy part of things versus reality. So I feel like once Mercury gets in there as well, that could actually help sharpen things a little bit better for you in that regard. All right, and bottom of the deck we have Morning. So this is the Three of Arrows, Three of Swords in a lot of decks. So more Libra energy here. And so yeah, so for some of you, maybe this is putting something in the past behind you finally, right? So again, super generic way this could be playing out, right? So let's just give one more theory to how it could have gone down. Let's say if you left a relationship recently, right? Maybe if you guys had, um, you know, shared income and now, okay, you're completely separated from that connection and now you're back to doing everything solo, right? There could have been that adjustment period there. So yeah, it looks like there's definitely some kind of disappointment that you felt from the past. Doesn't have to be romantic either, right? Could have been, again, like I said, if you guys are moving to a new job or a new area, along with that, right? There could be the releasing the old and what was, the disappointments around it, and embracing the new. But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So I'm just going to give this a few shuffles and then we'll pull a card. Okay, take this card here, get this out of the way and see what you got. All right, so we have Buy the Book. There's the artwork and the number's 11. So yeah, I mean, immediately just that made me think of the artwork with the Hierophant right now. Like we said, maybe leaning on more traditional things, but we'll see what it says in the book. All right, essential meanings says abiding by social rules, conformity, respecting cultural or family customs, universal laws. The Oracle's message: the universe works within a structure of divine laws and principles that provide a framework for human experience and evolution. The law of abundance, the law of prayer, the law of karma, the law of attraction, the law of thought, the law of compensation, and the law of nature are only a few that are known. These principles create perfect order and operate with a kind of precision beyond human understanding. Even revolution has its place in universal law. Human beings, in turn, have their own laws and customs that vary from culture to culture and family to family. Laws keep social order and govern behavior, reflecting an instinctive understanding that harmony is important. This is a time to learn these laws and conform to them rather than being the rebel and flouting them. When this card appears, submit to structure and follow the rules, even if they seem to make no sense. Release resistance, for universal laws will correct any disharmony. Open your eyes to these universal laws, and it will be easier to go by the book at this time. So that's an interesting message there, right? Especially because you guys have Libra as your 12th house, right? So there could be a lot of thought about fairness and balance, right? And wanting to see justice. But sometimes I feel like the main message there is, you could get too caught up in feeling like you have to deliver that on your own versus just letting the universe unfold things more naturally in that regard. The relationship message says getting along with others entails understanding and respecting who they have become as a result of their environment, culture, and experience. Find the middle ground that allows the relationship to flourish while honoring the individuality of the other person. Play things by the book instead of trying to break the rules or pressure others to conform to the way you want to do them. Your connection will deepen as a result. So yeah, that's an interesting one there because I don't see like a heavy relationship presence within this spread other than, like we said, maybe you're feeling like a little taxed out because you feel like you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in a relationship. But for those of you who are in a relationship, hopefully that resonated. All right. The prosperity message says at this time you can expect a return on your investment. Whatever you have pursued, be it a dream you've long cherished, a skill you've cultivated, or a service you're called to, will come to you if you're willing to go by the book. You don't need to reinvent the wheel to be successful. Follow in the footsteps of others who have already achieved the thing you're striving for. You can learn a lot by observing the structures that are already working. Your creative projects and commitment to prosperity are in alignment with the needs of the world, but impatience may tempt you to cut corners to get there more quickly. Stick with what you know works, and you will attract abundance. So that was an interesting message there because that makes me think of, on the one hand, you have Jupiter in your 10th house, right, which could help and reinvigorate your career in some ways, but you also have the South Node, right? But there, where you could combine those two was, as far as it said, looking at things that have already worked for others in the past. That could be definitely a South Node in the 10th house energy, right? Where it's like, hey, rather than trying to go completely revolutionary and start from scratch, maybe there's something you can learn from past experiences. And that could be maybe why you're in that Hierophant energy as well. But yeah, hope it resonated for you guys, and we're up there. All right, bye.